Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with the one and only and amazing Anna Kelly. How you doing, Anna?
I'm doing amazing, Michael.
This is gonna be fun. So we're gonna kind of bolt on conversations number 3 as kind of a branch of video number 2. In video number 2, we basically talk about, hey, does the Fed want to make Americans poor? And I thought your answer was amazing.
Thank you.
We're gonna focus on this conversation on housing. Do you
Yes.
remember? I think it was 2 months ago. It might have been 3. I think it was 2 months ago. Jerome Powell, at the end of his meeting, said, housing needs if you're a young person, something to the effect of, if you're a young person, the housing market needs a reset. So,
Yeah.
Anna, does the Fed want lower prices and lower values in housing?
If I could only say yes or no, it would be yes.
Yeah, but life's never that simple, right?
Right, right. I mean, generally speaking, the Fed wants the economy to be purring and to be growing, right? And part of that comes increased asset prices and increased housing prices. But we have an affordability crisis in this country. And
No
because we have
question.
an affordability crisis in this country, many people are priced out of home ownership. And honestly, where the mortgage rates are, even now, even before the Fed is done raising rates, most people, their mortgage payment is completely unaffordable based upon the underlying wages that are available in those communities. And that's just not sustainable. So that's one piece. But the other is the Fed knows that we have no choice but to crush inflation. And that means we have to get people to stop spending money. So if we want them to stop spending money, there's two primary ways people spend money. They don't have much left discretionary. So what do we as Americans do? We borrow. And what do we borrow for? We borrow to buy houses, mostly. We borrow on credit cards to buy stuff. We borrow to buy cars. And so when we borrow, the rates that the Fed's going to, control to try to get us to stop spending and stop borrowing are the Fed funds rate, which raises mortgage rates. And so if rates keep going up while you have prices that are historically high and arguably in an asset bubble, it becomes even more unaffordable. And so the Fed has to stop us from spending. And that means they're going to try to kill demand. When they kill demand and we quit buying houses, guess what happens usually?
Yeah.
Is that supply increases significantly. There's not enough demand. So the people trying to sell houses have to drop their prices and real estate values come down. Are they doing it to kill real estate prices? No.
No.
Do they know they're killing real estate prices as a kind of a byproduct, collateral damage for trying to fix the economy? Absolutely. They know they're going to do that and they're doing it.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like the answer to in video number 2, right? If you gave them true serum, again, I don't think they care about house prices per se.
Right.
But here's the reality that I don't think a lot of people understand, right? We talk about the Fed raising rates, trying to crush demand. Simply said, what asset, what thing, what widget is the most sensitive to interest rates? Well, it happens to be the thing that has the most debt.
Right.
And that's housing.
Right.
Right. So I would argue that the Fed has intention to crash housing transactions.
Yes.
I believe that
transactions is the key word, right?
Yes, they want housing transactions to fall. We've been talking about this on my channel that it will fall 30% this year. We talked about it months ago and it's happening. I now believe, back to your earlier point about affordability, this hurts. You and I both saw what happened to the housing market in June when interest rates ticked over 6% for like 5 days.
Yes.
The market just stopped. Well, we're back there. And I now believe we are we are going to walk the stairs to 7%.
Absolutely. The Fed is not done hiking rates. They may go up another 1.5 this year.
Yeah. And I think they will, actually. I think it'll be 75, 50, 25. That's exactly what I think is coming, 1.5. And we're going to be down 50% peak to trough. And some markets like Las Vegas, Brian Lebo on yesterday, it's down 42% already.
Transactions.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because again, people need to realize that it's funny. I get a lot of heat on my channel because I called a transaction crash. It happened and prices didn't move, basically, right? Some
Right.
markets they did, but nationally they didn't. And I get so much hate for that. Blah, 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 blah. I called it. What do you want? I mean, stop being upset. This is how economics work, right?
Right.
Transactions crash first and it's predictable. But this has not happened near as I could tell since 1981. And I wasn't buying in 81. I was 9 years old. But I've researched the hell out of it because I'm trying to figure out what might happen in the future. We are seeing for your and I's first adult lifetime, not only demand destruction, which you and I actually saw a couple of times, right?
Yes.
Rates went up. We saw it most recently in 2018, Q4.
Yes.
We are now seeing for the first time in my lifetime, adult lifetime, supply destruction. And we are seeing increasing causes of people who are in homes who would like to sell, not selling because their asset is the mortgage, right? If you have a 3% mortgage for 30 years, you essentially have negative rates. How crazy is that? Even when the Fed, let's just hocus pocus, it's 2025, inflation is 2%. You are still borrowing money at 1% adjusted for inflation for the next 27 years.
Yes.
That's an asset, Anna. It just is.
Absolutely.
And they're not going to give it up unless you yank it from death, divorce, job. I mean, even if you get a job transfer, I suspect a lot of folks will just rent it out. It's like, damn, I could rent it for $2,000 and my mortgage payment's $900. I'll take the free money.
Right. It's so different than 2008, right? A lot of people have been screaming it's going to be just like 2008, 2009, but the issue there was people had such high interest rate mortgages, both fixed and variable. And, suddenly the values of their properties weren't, as much as what they owed on them. So you had this mass wave of foreclosures and a huge uptick in supply while people were struggling in the Great Recession and the demand was down. And so you had super high supply and super low demand, which means, prices are going to come quite down. Now you've got this demand destruction, but you don't see a mass increase in supply. In certain markets, you will. And we talk about this all the time, that real estate's very regional. And there are some markets that have huge supply and had huge demand. Those that kill demand, you're going to see some falling prices. You have other areas, though, that still have a lack of inventory. They still have a lack of supply for all the people that already live there. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're apartment renters and they want to move into a house, right? And so these sellers who have rates, I think it's 80 to 90% of homes bought in the last 10 years have sub-4 interest rates. Yeah, am I right on that?
It's very close. I believe, according to Black Knight, if you add up sub-3, sub-3.5, sub-4, I believe it's 78%.
Yeah, I knew it was. It's huge. Really close. I think it's probably bigger than what we've ever seen, right?
Oh, and so, no question, bigger than.
Now you have people that are like, why? Unless I really have to sell my house, I lose a job and I have a job transfer and I need to sell, right? You're not going to see people want to sell because you can't buy even a comparable house without spending a lot more for that house just because of where the interest rates are.
It's even worse. It's worse than that. I believe a lot of people, if they were to sell the house they're in and then move to a comparable home, actually get a no answer. Because you got a yes answer at 3%, you're going to get a no answer at 7%.
True.
Think about that.
Absolutely. And I know people who are older who are getting ready to downsize. They can't even find something half the size of their current home for the same mortgage payment that they have today. So guess what? They're moving downstairs. They're converting their garages into their first floor master suite. And they're staying put. And so you're not going to see this huge increase in supply. And so I think we could come out of this with real estate prices in a lot of areas flat. The transactions down, but values flat to slightly coming up. And in other markets, they're going to get crushed. But it really is very much dependent on where you're invested.
Yeah. So it's a couple of things that I now see coming. And again, I'm going to get heat for this, but I don't care. So I see interest rates going to 7% by the end of the year. I see transactions falling even more. And the big surprise here, I see inventory at the end of December lower than today. That's just wild.
Yeah, a lot of people are just going to say, I'm not going to sell now, right? So, and so again, the Fed is trying to crush transactions. They want people to
crush refis, right? They're trying to stop the liquidity machine. Oh, yeah. They're down 83%.
Yes, absolutely. And the refi days are over for most people, unless you were into something variable and you don't have a choice, right? Which is not very many people. But they know that one of the consequences of this is that asset prices as a whole will fall to some extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of the second order derivative, right? They're trying to stop transactions. If you happen to be in a market that's maybe service based like Brian Lebo in Las Vegas, yeah, transactions down 42%, prices are down, I think he said 7%. Again, 42% transactions, prices thus far 7. You know, it's easier to see transactions coming. I don't know why more people don't admit that it's happening. It's like, no, talk about prices. Well, again, I think prices nominally are going to be flat for the next 5 years. I think the only thing that fixes this is time and wage inflation. And wage inflation takes time to compound. And then that will slowly bring affordability up. It's not going to be fun, right? If you're paid on commission or a service in the new home space, it's going to be a couple of lean years. But for you and I as investors who frankly are prepared for what's coming, I'm excited because there will be, I need to sell. Brian Lebo was telling us about a deal. I might be wrong, but the community was routinely selling at 670. The market stopped in Vegas in June, right? Transactions now down 42%. A home traded in that community recently for 500. Dude, that's 30%, right?
Right.
Or whatever it is. So again, there will be markets with real pain. And if you're hunting for motivated sellers like I do every day, I will find situations where my speed and or creativity creativity is going to be the name of the game. This is going to be Robert Allen, Carlton Sheets, no money down, 1980s creative financing. That's what's coming. And I'm so excited.
Yeah, there's definitely opportunity. And I'm always excited when there's opportunity. We have very few opportunities in our lifetime to really buy at pennies on the dollar. And we could have that opportunity in certain markets. But listen, don't be afraid to pay 70% on the dollar, 80 cents on the dollar, right? So,
Anna, sorry to interrupt.
A good deal for today.
I'll pay 100% on the dollar if I could get into the deal and structure the deal the right way. I'll pay 105 if I have to. Right. Let's get creative.
Yeah. Creative financing is amazing. And the less money you can put down, the higher your ROI on everything you do. So put in less money down when you can. Hard to do that when you're using bank loans. Easy to do that when you're working on seller financing to create win-win deals.
Anna, this has been amazing. 3 discussions. I appreciate it. You have an amazing playlist. 3 years. Did you know you actually have videos on my channel when you are working?
I know.
It's been that long.
I remember our first video. It just, I pinched myself. It's been amazing since then.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And we also have Anna's first interview after she retired. I remember that conversation as well. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I think we're going on 4 years now.
Yeah, it's got to be 4 years. So Anna, where can people find you?
Great. You can find me obviously in my playlist. You can follow me at social media at Anna Kelly, REI Mom, and at reimom.com.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week.
You too. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.